'cause I don't give a fuck what you say. Yeah, I'ma do shit my way. So you can go kick rocks, I'ma stack bricks up, build what I want to make. Yo, I got a lot of shit to say, so I'ma do this every day.
Good morning, everybody. It's Friday. Oh, yeah. I don't know why that amuses me so much, but I like it. So anyway, guys, today's the day I loaded up the C-Max module, boxed up the old C-Max bars for the 45, balancer and everything, and wife's delivering it to my buddy Billy, because he off on Fridays. I don't know why I tucked my beard up there. I can't do that in video. My God. I'm thinking about shaving my mustache and everything so I look Amish. Give me a straw hat for sundown. But anyway, reading through the comments, which I try my best to read through the comments and reply to you guys. It's tough sometimes, but I seen that you guys want to know more about rebased music and tones. And what I mean by tones is, you know, -5, 0, -7, and all that stuff. So I'll do my best to explain it. There's an understanding that you had to have when it comes to all this stuff, and we're going to start out with like 0 dB being here. Now 0 dB, well, I'm trying to figure out how to best explain this to make it easily understandable. I guess we'll just go ahead and start at 5. Okay, 5. Scratch 0. We didn't mention that at all. We're just gonna forget about that, because I feel like 5 should be the standard for setting gains. Play a -5 dB tone. If that's here, I put 0 here, and then everything, you know, under 5. Now, if you set at 5, 0 would be the loudest, but 5, because you're taking like 5, let's say 5 dB away from 0 is gonna be the best way to explain it. It's gonna make it quieter, kind of like how the dBs is in your car. You know, if you're doing 150 and you take 5 away, you be doing 145. So 5 will be under 0. Now, all of your good rebasers, Logan Fletcher, DJ Rusticles, DJ Siren, all of these people are going and rebasing their music under 5. Like, you know, -5.5, -6, 6.5, -7. So if you set your gain at 5, you're doing really good, because they're just a couple dB under where you're set at. But now when you get into stuff that says bass boosted, what they have done is that, you know, anybody that does anything called bass boosted, the word boosted just says clipping, because they've actually, you know, taken just the main bass note in the song for the most part, not all, but most, and they have boosted it up past the 0 dB point. They might actually take it into +2 or whatever. And there are some rebasers that try to go at 0 dB, which is terrible. Because I feel like when a bunch of people do something and they're good at what they do, then if the majority's doing it, it should be the standard. That's just how I feel. You know, when you get a bunch of good rebasers going under the -5 dB and staying right under that guideline, I feel like that should be the standard, because what happens if you set clean, if you set your gains clean using that -5 dB tone to where you know you're going to be clean playing that music, and then you get some idiots like, I'm going to make my stuff louder than theirs. I'm going 0 dB. He didn't actually make it louder. He made you clip. Because when you have a standard, you want to, that everybody should theoretically stick to. And then you get that one person kind of breaking it. You're going to clip, or you have to reset your gains and say, if he went 0, you need to find a +2 or +3 dB track to set your gains at, so you'll be clean playing his music, or you can just not play his music. And that's kind of where you wind up at. Or you just don't roll the bass knob up all the way, and you hope to hell that you're not clipping. But that's kind of how all this works. You know, you have like different lines. If there was a graph, if I had a pen and paper and there'd be a graph, I like to stay with my gains adjusted at, you know, -5 dB. Just because, like I said, most rebasers stay there or under. Now, that is awesome. That's kind of where you should be. And the same goes for test tones. Now, I've already told you guys, you know, the bass line, I feel, because most rebasers stay -5 or under, I feel that's the bass line, or the industry standard, the car audio standard anyway. Now, test tones, you kind of need to use a test tone to set your gains according to that. And that's why I pick -5 dB. It is the closest. You know, you could find a -6 probably, and that's going to put you right there with a lot of rebasers, because a lot of them stay -6 dB to 6.5, some are even 7. It's going to put you a little closer there. It's going to get you a little louder playing music. But it's not really the standard. The standard would be 5. Now, what would happen, and I've seen guys do this, they don't know the difference in test tones. And they, you know, get a hold of a test tone pack that's 0 dB. And I've actually made this mistake before. I was at a show. I didn't reset my gains. It was the World Finals. I didn't reset my gains before the show. And it was really hot that day. And I did a 64 flat. I had to do a rerun against somebody else. And I'm like, well, I could reset my gains and probably pull a little bit out. And I reset my gains, and I didn't realize that instead of a -5 tone, because I didn't even have a USB drive in the Jeep with me that had a -5 on it, I just had my burp tones. I reset with a 0 dB, and I didn't do so great. I actually lost like a dB and a half. I was trying to figure out what the hell went wrong. So it dawned on me later that day. I'm like, wait a minute. I threw my USB in and kind of went to the tracks. I'm like, these are 0 dB. So I had to go back and reset my gains again with a -5. And then I went back up there and I got my score back and won. But, you know, I had to pay for a rerun and everything, which it was a costly mistake. But that is why I like to use a -5 to set my gains. And then if you go through and burp, that's going to put you straight into clipping, which, you know, you've heard the old sayings. If you ain't clipping, you're tripping, or whatever, you know, straight clipping. It's because when you go into just a little bit of clipping on the meter, you get a little bit more out of the amps. Subs get hot as hell, but I can give you that little win and edge. So that's where we like to stay. But anyway, guys, try to research the music, or the DJs that make the music that you are mostly listening to in your vehicle, and see what dB they recorded at. And if it's -5 or lower, use a -5 40 hertz tone to set the gains on your amplifiers with. You can experiment with a 0 dB burp tone for just that brief second. Make sure you don't blow nothing, you know, if you've gained. But definitely don't pick like a +3 dB tone or anything. Everything should be in the realm and really close to what you're playing. And that's why I choose to stay with a -5. But what it actually comes down to is it is the, hold on, there's a noisy ass vehicle coming. It's a tractor. It ain't a dump truck this time. Roll the windows up. But anyway, it's how loud it was recorded or reproduced or whatever, rebased. That's all it boils down to. And talking to some rebasers, I have learned that the bass line in the song, when it was recorded by the artist and recording studio, sometimes the bass line might be -20 dB. -20. And what they do is they just bring it up to like -6, you know, and there's where your rebase comes in at. But, you know, as we've established, you got like the 0, and that's just 0 on your graph, and then, you know, lower dB, higher dB. Everything should be in a certain area of relatively close to each other on where you're tuned at and where you play, or where the music is recorded at. So, you know, like we said, if from 0 would be like, we're going to say it's the loudest, but plus dB would be the loudest, but we're just going to say it's the loudest. With people recording at -6 and you set your gains with -5, you're leaving a little gap on the table, right? Just 1 dB. And that's not going to equal a dB probably if you were on the meter. But for sake, we're going to say, you know, 1 dB. Now, if you set your gains at -5 and you find an artist that all their music that they rebase is -5, that's like win-win. You're right there. But, you know, if you set your gains with a 0 dB track and everything you play to is like -5 to -7, you're leaving a whole lot on the table. Like, you are losing a lot. So, like I said, you know, shoot a message to your favorite rebaser that you play the majority of their music, or a few of them, and just ask what dB they rebase at. You know, see if it's -5, -6, -6.5. That'll give you a really good idea, you know, of where you need to set your gains at. I've already talked to like a lot of rebasers, and I know that most of them go into that -6 range, which is perfect, which is why I use a -5 tone. So I hope I've explained why you need to use the tone you need to when you set your amp gains. A lot of people don't know, and they'll just get a hold of a 0 dB tone and set their gains there. And then they're playing music that's like -5 or better, so they're losing a lot. Now, if you've already done this, if you've set it with a negative or a 0 dB tone and you're playing rebased music and you still have piss poor electrical and you got clip lights flashing and everything, there's no need to change, guy, because your electrical can't keep up with it. But if you've got good stout electrical, you're not clipping all the time, you're not getting smelly coils or anything, and you're like, you know, I listened to a lot of Rusticals and Siren and I did use a 0 dB tone, go back with a -5 dB and reset your gains, and you're probably going to get a hell of a lot louder. And while we're on the subject of, you know, the tones, the rebase music, and how that works, guys, don't play YouTube. YouTube is freaking garbage. You know, there is a bit rate that music is, or MP3s and music's done at for file transfer and making a file. And when you compress it, you shorten or you bring down the bit rate. The higher the bit rate, the better the music is, the cleaner it is. And that's why if you've ever like downloaded music, like back in the day, you know, there was a thing where you could get MP3s from YouTube videos. And this little app would ask you what bit rate you wanted the music in, you know, from like the lowest to the highest. Well, if you'd have picked the lowest, you might have had, you know, a 2 megabyte track. If you picked the highest, you'd have a 10 megabyte track. That, you know, same song, that's just the different size of the file. Now, that tells you the better quality is going to be a way bigger file. And what this has to do with everything, if you're listening to music on YouTube, you're getting the lowest quality, smallest file size you can. Don't listen to music on YouTube. It is straight up garbage because, yeah, they are like really small files. The music's dirty as hell. And I've even found a difference myself listening to a USB in my head unit versus listening to Apple Music. The USB is way higher quality, better sounding, and Apple Music's like good. I mean, you know, it ain't very dirty. It's just the Bluetooth transfer. I think that Bluetooth can only carry so much from your phone to your head unit. And it's because a lot of head units don't have like the newest USB 3.0 or whatever. I mean, that's USB. I don't know. Something to do with the Bluetooth. But same thing, kind of like, I guess, if you plug an aux cable in, you're probably still going to do better plugging in USB from your phone. That's probably going to be the cleanest, best way to do it over Bluetooth or the aux cable from the old phones that had a head port jack. But I try to do everything on USB. Some people are too lazy. They're like, I'd rather just stream everything. Golden. But for me personally, I think it's just cleaner downloading everything on my laptop and putting just the songs that I really like on a USB and then putting that into my head unit. For me, it's the easiest. It seems like it's the cleanest way to do it. So try to take that bit of information, you know, with everything. If you have a laptop or a home computer, you can download everything, you know, all these Rebased songs, and put them on USB and play them on your head unit. You don't have to use your phone for everything, guys. I just have found that it's a lot cleaner, better signal going from a USB thumb drive to my head unit versus the Bluetooth. And in my Jeep, if I do play music from my phone, which I do a lot, I don't play rebased music. I just play straight up stuff from like Apple Music. I plug the cable in my phone, plug it into my head unit. I don't know. I still Bluetooth my phone for like hands-free phone call, but all the music I play from my phone, I do it through the USB cable. So that is basically what I know about Rebased music and, you know, your test tones and what the different things mean on 0 dB, -5, whatever. I hope this helps somebody understand. Thank y'all for the suggestion for this video. I did one like a year or more ago, but it probably got lost way back in all of my files or my videos on here. So it didn't hurt to revisit it. Thank you guys. Thank all you guys that follow me and subscribe to my Patreon, YouTube members and all that. It helps me a lot. Thank you guys that just watched. Thank you guys that subscribe. If you could throw a thumbs up on the video, that helps me also. So thank y'all. Peace out, guys. Bass on.
I love the chase and the hunt, and I set the